welcome back. After one of our bit of a longer breaks here, we are back at the GSTL. Currently, LGIM down 2-1. They've sent out yet another Protoss.
We have First coming up now into the booth. He is up against Violet, Zerg player who already proved himself in this matchup on Belgian Vestige.
Yeah, this should be a really exciting one to see how the style of First differs from Younghwa when it comes to playing just a straight-up game. If he chooses to do that, he could go for a bit of a snipe strat.
You know, I think that First is being sent out here because he, in the second round of Put A, faces Hiva, so he faces a Zerg player. And this is one of those games where I think that he probably is playing a completely different map than he chose right now. So he should be in a position where he can choose the map, make sure that he doesn't play a map that he has to play against his opponent, and then he'll be fine here. Practicing for the matchup, it would make sense to send him out.
Yeah. You can see a round of 8 starting to look pretty exciting over there. You saw it on the screen. But enough about that. The map choice is Akalon Waste, which is a great map for that air style. It's a super easy map to take a third base on as a Protoss. As a Zerg player, your third is relatively comfortable, but your fourth is really where it's easy to take a base. So usually have late game in this matchup. Nobody really going for huge timing attacks. You have seen it from time to time.
I have to apologize here, by the way. I just updated and saw that Hiva won the series against First.
Well, this could, further be the reason why, though, since he's been practicing for that matchup.
Yeah. So, still the same is true. He has been practicing for the matchup against Hiva. He lost, but now he's up against another Zerg player. So, still with a lot of practice against a Zerg. And now, can he make that work for a Kill on Flats map, where Wolf already mentioned that the air style that Protoss has been using in the past on this map is still very strong.
Yeah. Did you ever use, of course you did, use Battle.net, where you've been in a chat room where if nobody's there, and you type in it, and it says no one hears you. This is the old Battle.net, not StarCraft 2 Battle.net. You just type it and it immediately comes back and says no one hears you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I look at Violet right now with that microphone on.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, put that away and nobody's listening. This is a 1v1, man.
It looks cool, though.
He's talking to his girlfriend at the same time. It does look cool, that is for sure. Like, if he were talking to somebody on that, he would look like a total baller doing it.
Well, right now we have him in another Zerg versus Protoss. A Kill on Waste is the map choice of his opponent. First decides to play the 2-player map here against him. He already saw Violet play on Belgian Vestige against Younghwa. But now the IEM Katowice champion is trying to make sure that Violet is not getting a second win in this team match.
Oh, puts the headset up.
Yeah, he heard you.
But no one heard him. The Akalon Waste is a great map choice, though, for First. Really, really hoping he's going to use that air style.
Yeah, a lot of Zerg players have struggled against it. The solution seems to be a Hydra and Queen Center build. But we're going to find out what First has up his sleeves here on a Kill on Waste. The team match between LGIM and Team AZUBU here at the GSTL 2013 in Cologne. Starting to the bottom right, another Protoss player starting for LGIM. This is
LGIM First.
Coming out third, though.
Yep, 20 years old, the winner of IEM Katowice. He's up against the Zerg player to the top left, starting for Team AZUBU after defeating Younghwa.
AZUBU Violet.
Violet up against his second Protoss opponent. Smaller map this time.
Yeah. Much smaller, much more compact. The base is very close to each other, especially the first 4 that you take. After that, though, you have a bit of a map to transverse, but once you're on 4 bases, usually you're maxed out, so you have a maxed out army that you can kind of move around with to take those bases.
And First being the third player for his team also means that we are only going to see one more player if First loses. So it could be a Kango, it could be Lucira, we could see Squirtle. We didn't see a Terran player just yet for Team LGIM. MVP is here, and also, of course, Yoda. So we're going to find out later on maybe who's going to be the 4th player. But first of all, Violet, of course, has to take down this obstacle in his path to get another win.
Yep, this probe is just dashing around there. Got a follower. Probe has 1 follower, 0 tweets.
I guess. We have now the pool first this time for Violet, so we've seen already today that a few Zerg players will try to go into the hatch first, depending on the map choice. On a two-player map like a Killon, you never want to go into a hatch first, because there's just the danger of being Pennant immediately. And Violet is now up against the Forge first build. First is not heading into the Nexus first.
That's so interesting, you know, because he saw already the pool, and he knew the timing, and he had his probe going down, looking like it was going to do a Nexus first, and he changed his mind. I wonder if he has, you know, any ideas with this. I guess he's just trying to play it safe, but if he had been able to block the hatchery better, he could have just made a pylon there to keep the links off his back until his Nexus finished. So, interesting choice, but still safe.
Yeah, for me the pick of first is a little bit surprising, by the way. We talked about this briefly in the break, and the thing is, first does not only have to take down Violet here. What you would expect from him is at least to get 2 kills if LGIM wants to get ahead in the match. And first is by no means a bad player, but the lineup that we have, the people that are sitting on this bench, there are a few players that I would definitely judge to be much stronger than first. So that's going to be an interesting game. I mean, he must feel really confident in this matchup, so I want to see what kind of strategy we see from first here. We mentioned the air style that he can execute on a map like a Killon. It's very easy for a Protoss player to take a secure third base.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what he does. I think that he must have some sort of special plan. The probe stands up here at the top of the rock, just looking at the bones beneath him.
Immediately being attacked by the Zergling here, and the third base now being taken by Violet. We talked about this earlier. Zergs try to take the third a little bit later and heading into an early attack if they scout a gateway opening or a different build. But against the Forge first opening, you are always safe taking your third base immediately. So that's exactly what Violet does, and first scouts it with a probe.
Yeah, really important for him to see that. He's got, you know, his not his third base, his second base, his natural, is not putting any gases there yet. So we could see him try to slide a probe over there and take a third base. Obviously not just yet, but pretty soon, if he wants to do that. And he will save the probe just barely.
Yeah, third base right now, that would be like a very, very greedy and early third. That's more not what you're going to see here.
Right.
But so far, we also don't have any gas for Violet, and Violet will probably around 6 minutes, 6:30 start to take his extractors. His third is already done. He's also getting a spine crawler here just to be safe.
And there goes the wall. We are definitely going to see this. He's putting a pylon right at the front of that little choke point, where you can actually destroy the rocks as well once he has enough units.
Here comes the gas for Violet, going into double gas right away, taking down the rocks. And now he can set up this double wall, as you already said, so he can destroy the rocks, can go into the gateways, and then I want to see what his take choice is. Does he go into the style with air? On a map like this, where you can safely take the 3 bases, you can immediately head into the Stargate, and then get, for example, also the Tempest South really early on. Rely on 2 Void Rays first, then go into Tempest, and zone out everything. You just need to make sure that you have enough cannons to defend against an early push.
I really like the patience and control he saw on that Zealot. He made sure that the Zealot did not either get crushed by the rocks, but also was trapped on the outside instead of the inside. You never want that Zealot on the inside, because then he can't be of any use to you until you kill the rocks. He's already working on the rocks that allow him to connect his bases, so during all of this harassment with his Stalker, he's still working on building up his base, getting his +1 out, and you know, even destroying those rocks. All these little important things that are going to come into play. He starts a Twilight Council, interestingly enough.
Yeah, third base has already been started. Could you double check for me if this third was scouted? Because we had Overlords in the main base. Violet saw at least what kind of tech was going on, but I'm not 100% sure if he actually saw the third. No matter what, he went into the lair tech before he started his speed for the Zerglings because of what he's seen.
He did see it with the Overlord.
Yeah. So therefore, it makes a lot of sense that he goes into the lair tech first. He doesn't need the early speed against the strategy. He knows that there's not really going to be any time of anything like early game aggression for first. So a very smart choice to head into the lair tech before going into the speed upgrade.
Yeah, just very cleverly done here, cutting out what he needs, but he's going to face a really fast Blink Stalker all in with probably like 8 gateways and +2.
Reminds me a lot of Entomb Valley.
Yeah, very much what we've seen. There's the 4th going down for Violet. He's just playing a little bit greedy because he knows that he can. He knows there's a risky third base that went down. Well, not really risky, but early.
Yeah, Hydradin is now coming up for Violet, and the question is, will he have enough units out in time to deal with this? A Hydra Link composition is awesome against Blinkstalkers. It's really good. The reason being that, of course, the Blinkstalkers have a hard time running away from the Zerglings. At the same time, the Lynx in a huge fight will be able to provide a bit of a buffer for the Hydralisk to dish out their damage.
Yeah. Overseer sees everything here. He's going to come in. He also drops a Changeling. Yeah, this is a bit of an oversight. Personally, for me, that Burst did not have any units waiting to stop him.
Yeah.
He's going to see everything.
You know, this is the style that I mentioned earlier that Violet really like to play, the Lynx and Hydras, and now heading into the Infestation Pit for the tech into Hive to get the Vipers out, also the option of having Swarm Hosts then. But we see him now going into the Hydralisks already, and if Burst delays his attack a little bit longer, the 1-1 upgrades will be done for Violet, and also range and maybe even speed for the Hydralisks.
I think this Dark Shrine is actually going to be for Archons. You know, he can do a little bit of harassment with that, but for the most part, I think he just wants to add some Archons with a little bit more balanced composition. He's going to get the Robo, obviously, for an Observer, so he can start clearing up creep.
So far, a pretty decent timing here for First. The 1-1 is not done just yet, but can you really make Violet commit to a fight before the upgrades are done? Lings are on the map, 12 Hydras, 8 additional ones coming up. 1-1 is nearing completion here.
There's a Warp Prism on the way. It's going to help him out quite a bit. You know, he's going to destroy these rocks to lock the Frost player out. This is pretty smart. He can try to use the rocks to his advantage to try to kill any stock.
Oh, the Queen! Oh, Violet, that was so mean. Ouch. That was so mean. Sacrificing the Queen like a pawn here. That was uncalled for. Ah, you don't like that.
We haven't seen anything really like this since the Rocks killed the Widow Mines. Remember that?
Yeah, I felt sorry for the Queen, I have to say.
It looks like we're going to see first transition out of this push into double Robo Colossi, and he is going to use that Dark Shrine now.
Let's be honest here, the push is never going to work because Violet was ready. He had Hydras, he had Lings, he delayed it even further with the rocks that he killed. So now it is actually the Protoss player who has to be a little bit careful because the army on the map is really scary. Violet is also not completely relying on this. He's heading already into a Swarm Host upgrade composition.
This is really interesting, though. He's not making Archons just yet. He's actually using the GTs in that Warp Prism, which I thought he was going to use for the attack. He's sending Warp Prism into the main base. He could drop some DTs at the third and then warp into the main, but he also has 2 going down to the south, and Violet does not have detection at all.
And here come those DTs, and the DTs are really going to screw with Violet. He does not expect this at all. He's immediately morphing Overseers, and he needs them, but this is going to do a lot of damage to the AZUBU Zerg.
Yeah, he needs to target his DTs a little bit better, but these Lings are trading against the Zealots. Meanwhile, a lot of drones going down. He's losing this Queen, it looks like.
And Violet also retreated. He walked back. He did not put aggression on his opponent. Expands again to the bottom left, trying to suffer as little as possible. But he, as you said, he lost Queens, he lost a lot of Harvesters, he also lost a few Hydralisks. So that's a very successful harass here by First. Take down 20 workers. That was pretty good.
I like what First has just done, all things considered. I mean, he knew his push was scouted. He saw the composition, he was like, no, this isn't going to work. And he made a Dark Shrine and went into double Colossi, as he already saw the Hydras. The Swarm Hosts are going to be a bit of a problem for him, but because he has that double Colossus production, he can eventually deal with it.
Yeah, the thing is that those Swarm Hosts will really help Violet a lot. Violet suffered a lot of damage with the last attack, but he's still in a really good position. If you think about how much just got killed, he is still severely ahead in upgrades. He's ahead in overall supply, and we have him in a position where he has his tech.
Yeah. The Harvester count is the one thing he is lacking, but he's making 14 as I speak, so he does catch back up in that deficit. But that one DT could scout the Spire on the left side if he sends it over. That's going to be something that we'll wait to find out. And these Swarm Hosts, if he catches them unburrowed just one time.
He doesn't know that the army is there. Now suddenly we have the flank. Here comes the Protoss player moving in. So far the Swarm Hosts are not burrowed. They really need to pull that off.
Yeah, they need to start dropping Locusts down. Meanwhile, this one DT I was talking about earlier is going to work.
Yeah, the DT doing a great job here. Here come the Force Fields, and the Colossi are moving in. We don't have the Spire ready just yet. He can only rely on the Hydralisk. He doesn't have Corruptus just yet.
Violet really struggling to deal with these DTs. The Locusts, though, are starting to come out in full, and you know, the Frost player just does not have enough Colossi yet to fight this directly.
Yeah, it's the problem for Violet really is that he doesn't have the Spire up, and he's losing a lot here. The Swarm Hosts are a bit of his single defense that he has, but Violet is trying to buy himself some time.
Yeah. Oh, this is not a good position to fight in. If he can actually get those Hydras to the back,
Locust just do so much damage. Keep in mind that all those upgrades that Violet is researching for the Hydralisks also are decent for the Locusts.
Yeah, they already have the Carapace. And he wants to get that Mothership core. He can't quite grab it.
Yeah, not just quite, but keep in mind that we now have the Corruptors coming in. There are 13 of them.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge deal. And for some reason, he's not using those Stalkers. Now he moves them in. You could just see how much time the Locusts buy him here.
4 bases against 5 at this point, and the Corruptors are on the map. Here comes a double time warp on top of that ramp.
Now he wants to move up here. Guardian Shield is good. He's got a lot of Colossi, but the Locusts find so much time still.
The Locusts are here. The Corruptors are a bit reluctant to move in range of those Stalkers, taking out one of those Colossi early on, though.
Just very, very patient play by both players, but now he's going to go snipe the base on the left while there is a Warpin in the main.
I love the Warp Prism usage that we see here by First. He's doing so much with this harass. The Warp Prism dies eventually, but the base on the bottom left goes down as a result.
He commits speed to the Warp Prism, and this means that he can use the Warp Prism so much better than you would normally see. The target on the Spire here is so smart, and it looks like he may very well get it. It's going to be close.
There are so many Corruptors now. We have 14 and even more being built for Violet. He's still relying on 11 Swarm Hosts. Those Locusts doing a lot here. And Violet struggles a little bit to get into a good position. The Spire is done.
By the way, I want to notice one of our updates to GameHeart at the bottom right, where if there's nothing selected on the screen, you guys can see the units lost and the army supply as well as the income all on one little tiny card at the bottom right. Obviously, it's not that way right now, but when that is removed, that's what you see at the bottom right.
The air transition has started, Wolf. We have 3 Stargates being built. Double Warp Prism. First really wants to go all out. He wants to go into a massive macro strategy now, dropping at 2 sides at once, going into this heavy air composition. But Violet is already in the move. Violet wants to put the pressure on his opponent now. He wants to counter.
Yeah, First is taking the base to the top right while attacking the bottom left, but this puts him a little bit vulnerable. You never want to have your army away from where you're trying to expand. He's going to get some of these Swarmos for free. That was nice.
Yeah, the Swarmos are down. And those DTs, the entire game, First is doing so much damage with the Dark Templar.
I'm a little bit disappointed we don't see Spores and Spines until this late from Violet.
Yeah, he could have built a few Spine Crawlers. Violet could have built Spore Crawlers as well. Not only relying on the Overseers here, but he's losing more and more.
Yeah, this is actually basically all in for him right now. If he doesn't win with this push, he's lost all of his Harvesters at home. This Charge Zealot's coming to the back, and this is looking decent as far as killing the Colossi goes, but the ground army is still very much alive.
He needs to do a lot of damage, and now the Swarmos are completely exposed. There's nothing more left for Violet to guard them. They go down one by one, and Violet drops its supply down below 100.
Yeah, well, Violet is basically dead at this point. The DTs have killed way too much.
GG. First pulls through for his team after losing to Haiva in the second round of Code A. He's successful against the Zerg opponent here in the GSTL, doing a great job with his strategy. And Violet just, in the end, dying to Dark Templars.
Yeah, he just, that is so well said. I mean, he basically died to the DTs. The harassment that was coming in was something he could not deal with. The Zealot Warpins that happened, he did shut those down, but the DTs, he never had Stag Defense. He never had Spores and Spines where he needed them, and that was a big problem.
He lost so many units already in the first attack, but then later on, First just didn't stop. And even him going into the double Warp Prism, which never really came into play, but that's something that he wanted to do in the late game, adding 2 Warp Prisms to attack at the bottom left and the top right.
Most Zerg players will have at least 1 Spore Crawler and 1 Spine at their bases, and later on even more because of the Zealot Warpins that you see oftentimes in mid and late game.
With all the Overseer that we saw for him, I was a bit surprised to not see at least 1 Spine Crawler per base.
Yeah. That was a little bit strange, but I think Violet may have gotten a little bit stressed once the first DT started to hit him, and he just never really was able to recover from that.
Yeah, Violet not too happy here, but he was able to take out one opponent. He took down Yonghwa, so he still won one. I mean, he's in a spot where his team is slightly ahead. Not in points, but they have the map choice now.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see what AZUBU is going to choose.
Yeah.
Map and player. I could see Ganji coming out. I don't think we're going to see San for a Pross versus Pross at this moment in time, or Genius. I think they want to save Genius for last, maybe even, to have that good Pross player that you can back up the team with. But for this pick, I'm feeling like either Supernova or Ganji, one of the Terrans.
Yeah, I feel you there. Supernova or Ganji, one of the two of them, getting a Terran player out there. They might surprise us with a different pick, though. And of course, the AZUBU coach, he really has to think about this quite a bit. This is his third player. After this, he only can rely on one more. And we have first now with 1 kill. So you want to make sure that the guy doesn't build up any momentum in the team match. And LGIM brought themselves back into the game.
Yeah, they certainly did. And I'm really, really interested to see Ganji maybe come out here, because we saw him previously in the past against Protoss players hit those really strong medevac timings with speed boost and just really tear Protoss players apart.
He did he got the all kill against NSOSA, so he's definitely in a good shape right now. But we have to find out what the AZUBU coach thinks, and of course it depends a little bit on if the players are in good shape today, if they are confident in their abilities to take down maybe not only first but the next player too.
Icarus is the map choice, just got invited in the lobby, so I feel like that means it has to be a Terran. You don't really want to play Icarus as a Zerg against a Protoss player. It could be a little bit weird.
It's a very aggressive map. Icarus is one of those maps where you usually see a lot of aggression. Draw play is very good on the map as well, so a Terran player would make a lot of sense here. Usually we see Terran. It seems like Terran versus Zerg is the matchup that we see most on this map, though. Not gonna happen in this case.
Obviously, yeah. You know, part of the reason why I think we're gonna see a Terran here is because the third base is so far away on this map for both bases, but that gives the Terran player the ability to be aggressive with drops. Who's it gonna be? Supernova on the edge.
Bottom right.
Sleep is coming out. Weird. I'm very surprised by this pick. I can say nothing else.
Me too. Sends out Sleep. And that's a really interesting choice. So now we have actually the third Zerg player in a row.
Yeah. This is really strange. I mean, not that Sleep is bad, but for this map, feels weird to me. You can see he's not played yet, and he is currently in Code B. Did fail in the qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken. You know, Sleep kind of just, as far as everyone else on the team goes, he stands out quite a bit with that hair, you know what I mean? It looks a little bit...
He looks a little bit sleepy, but also a little bit like a gangster, I don't know.
Yeah, like, he's got this look of, like, he's chewing gum, he doesn't care, and the coach is like, Sleep, I told you to get a haircut, and he's like, nah,
I'm fine.
Nah, stop bragging me about it, coach.
That's an interesting one, though. Definitely not the pick that I expected, but I'm curious to see what he can do here. I mean, Sleep, I really thought it would be a Terran player.
Yeah, Sleep has been a player who we have seen around for a long time, all the way back to the days of the open seasons. He was IM Sleep for a long time, then was hanging out with the Slayers team. Then he found his way into AZUBU. He's got a lot of history, but in his recent days, he is not really impressed. He hasn't really done too much in Heartless Storm just yet either.
His nickname was actually come from his Incredible Miracle teammates, and they said he always looked sleepy, so that's why he's actually calling himself Sleep. You can really see why. I mean, we had a couple of shots of him in the booth already, and it's so true. I mean, couldn't be fitting more.
Yeah. You know, he was back in the days when the LGIM team had basically all their IDs were just kind of one sort of adjective or a noun. Back in the days of horror, sleep, ready, nuts, a lot. There was a lot more. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm angry.
There was ready as well. I am ready. No angry. What else did we have? We had. There were a lot. Like, it's hard to remember them all, but it was a funny time.
Yeah, I'm missing another one here. The two players that
Happy.
I want to see, like, I'm sexy as well.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised we didn't get that one.
Yeah, I thought at some point, especially when I don't know, it was so popular, I felt that was the time when one of the players was like, okay, well, screw it.
I thought we maybe see bringing sexy back as one of the ideas as well, but we never got to see that one.
Well, we might rely on Killer in the future for that. He's always good for a name change, so
yeah,
that would be one of the options that we have. But now we are watching Sleep in just a few seconds, taking on his opponent here. So another Zerg versus Protoss.
Yeah, we've just been getting them back to back.
Yeah, exactly, one after another. And Sleep is really not who I expected. We've only seen him occasionally.
Yeah, you know, he's not one of those players that you see in the individual league very often. He's a player who is usually kind of just with the team. You can see him there as a supporter. You know, he's definitely one of those B-teamers who's practicing a lot with the team.
I would rather expect him to be either the starting player for his team or being the player that comes out when the first player of AZUBU loses.
Not like this, though. This is a little bit strange. He must be really feeling confident against Protoss right now, and he's probably requested, you know, I think I can take him out on Icarus, because Icarus is a weird map choice. It's a map that's a little bit more predictable for Zerg players, because you know they're probably going to hit you with the timing, because the third base is really tough to take. It's a little bit easier against Protoss on this map, but against Terran, for example, it's very difficult.
Yep. And I completely agree. I mean, this is one of the more aggressive maps that we have, and with Sleep now coming up, he must be really confident in this. The advantages that you have if you come out as the first player or as the player who takes on the first player of the opposing team when your own player loses, is that you always have the map, you know the map in advance, you can prepare for the matchup, so that gives you a little bit of an edge over your opponent. And Sleep now being up against first on Icarus is going to be a very interesting match. Sleep has to prove himself here.
Yeah. Really does. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to show us.
First has shown us that he's really solid in the matchup against Zerg. He was not able to take down Haiba in the second round of Korea, as mentioned earlier. But we have still him with a very solid record now, was able to take down Violet, a strong Zerg player, and sending now a third Zerg player out in a row. Not what I expected. I thought, okay, maybe 2 and then switching it up a little bit with a Protoss or maybe a Terran player. But 3 Zergs in a row, quite ballsy by the AZUBU coach. Let's see if he's going to be rewarded here. Sleep is up against first at the GSTL Season 1 2013. Brought to you by Color Wolf.